So neuropathy at its core is a circulation problem. And one of the reasons why it's so difficult to treat in a traditional medical model is that we aren't spending the quality time to actually figure out what your body needs. Now, there's nothing wrong with drugs, radiation, and surgery. There's a time and a place for all of those. But a lot of times you have early warning signs, meaning your feet or hands are cold, you're losing circulation. Maybe you're having a difficult time with your balance. All these little things that you kind of just adapt to over the years and you learn to get by. Well, your body's trying to communicate with you that something is wrong. The warning signs in your car. If the flashing light for your check engine light came on, you're not just going to put a piece of tape over it. You're going to take it to the mechanic. You're going to figure out, okay, why is that light on? Not just diagnose it, but then actually address the problem. And that's ultimately what we're here for, is to figure out, okay, why is that check engine light on? So traditionally, when we look at care, the aspects come with medication, and they just mask the symptoms. That really is the piece of tape. So when we sit down with you, we're going to dive into your specific needs. Now, why it's not a one-size-fits-all approach is that how you ended up in the situation that you are is unique. It's not the same for everyone. Maybe it was a chemical exposure, maybe it was a surgery, maybe it was chemotherapy. Right? All these little things that you've done in your life had led you to where you're at today. And so treatment recommendations need to be tailored to you specifically to address not only where you've been, but more importantly, where you're going. And so neuropathy as a demyelination process is degenerative by nature, which means if you don't do anything, it will continue to get worse and worse and worse over time. Now, if it is something that you want to be able to take an active hold of, we know how to reverse that damage. It's not a mystery of how the body works. We understand the body at its core is designed to heal and recover. And so we want to give it the right environment to do that. So each treatment that we have in the office, from low-level light therapy to nerve reeducation, shockwave, decompression, chiropractic, that is going to be unique to you and what your needs are to be able to reverse the damage that's been done. So I have a very unique job in the fact that I get to take care of your health. But maybe you've heard the phrase, it's easier to trick someone than to convince them they've been tricked. And that's essentially what a lot of people have been told about their health conditions. Now, neuropathy specifically, that there's nothing that can be done. You simply have to live with the issue, take some medication till it gets worse, then we'll deal with that as it comes. Well, what if you could actually take hold of your health today and make changes? That is a unique aspect. So one of the biggest objections that we get in the office is that, Doc, I've tried everything and my doctor told me that I just have to deal with this. And that's simply not true, right? There's so much that your body is designed to do. So neurologically, it's amazing. The brain controls every function in your body. Your central nervous system provides your heart beating, your lungs breathing, your food digesting. Your peripheral nerves, the ones that go to your hands and feet, are directly related to what's going on in that central nervous system. So to be able to impact that is very important. Now, Doc, I don't have enough time in the day, or I travel a lot, whatever those objections can be. Again, this is going to be tailored to your recommendation. The aspects of changing lifestyle. Now, obviously that is important, and ultimately that's going to be your choice. But there may be some things in your life that you want to change, and ultimately that's why you have clicked on this video. Maybe that's why you walked into the office. You're looking for something different. The approach that you've been doing isn't working. And ultimately, this is your health, your decision to be able to improve quality of life as we move forward. So one of the unique aspects of our office is education. I believe education is key in the healing process. So we host seminars every single month. One of those specifically is neuropathy. I love our neuropathy seminars because we get to share with you valuable information. Things that maybe you've been told, maybe you haven't heard, maybe you've been told and you just didn't really hear it, right? This is information that is extremely valuable for your health. At the end of that seminar, we actually extend an opportunity to take that next step into your health and say, okay, this is for me. This is something that I want to learn about. I want to figure out, one, what's going on with me, and two, what is it that I need to do moving forward? I always have big questions that people ask, and really the four big ones that I try to address in every encounter is, well, Doc, what's wrong with me? How bad off am I? How long does it take to fix it, and what do I have to do? Now, I don't know the answer to those questions right away, but during our evaluation with you, we're able to pinpoint those questions specifically, answer anything else you may have. But our seminars are a great way to learn about what's going on with your health. At the end of that seminar, again, we extend an opportunity for you to take that next step. Now, typically in our office, it could be a couple $100 for all the tests that we do. That specifically for you is going to be key, because what we want to do is we want to decrease that cost down for you to actually gain that knowledge of what's going on. So your initial investment, when we look at $150 to say, okay, I want to be able to take a thermal picture. I want to be able to run through a 16-point sensory inspection. I want to be able to actually understand where my balance is. I want to be able to understand structurally what's going on. But more importantly, be able to sit down and hear those results. Not just be given a piece of paper with big words on it and you go, I don't know what to do next. I want you to understand not just what we're doing, but what we can do for you and with you for your health moving forward. So for those patients dealing with diabetes, obviously you know that's a big uphill struggle. And one of the key impacts and how that ties into neuropathy is that high blood sugar levels wreak havoc on your cardiovascular system, which means nutrients aren't getting to where they need to. And what we want to be able to do is sit with you and figure out, well, how do we address those components? And maybe you've also dealt with some falling issues. Maybe you don't quite make it down the hall, or maybe you're walking crooked. Those are little things. I was recently at an event and a gentleman was talking that he couldn't feel the gas pedal. In fact, I got talking to him a little bit more, and he had actually run into 3 parked cars in the last 6 months. Right? He couldn't feel the difference between the gas and the brake. Now, he kind of brushed it off and laughed a little bit, but unfortunately, that's not the first time I've heard that story. And so why is that important? Well, it's a quality of life. It's a safety component. One of the biggest things that we get in the office is, Doc, I want to keep my independence. I don't want to end up like my friend who was in a walker or potentially a wheelchair. I want to be able to stay active. I want to do the things that I worked my whole life to try to achieve. I've now made it to retirement and my health is falling apart. And I can't do the things that I want to do. I can't ride my bike. I can't exercise. It's tough for me just to sleep at night. Those little things are your quality of life. And so ultimately adding years to your life, but life to those years, and really understanding that you can have a significant better quality of life if you just do a few little things to progress forward. When you're dealing and struggling with a health issue, sometimes it's tough to look past the next week or the next month and really step into your health. So what we want to be able to do is kind of guide that process and give you an understanding of what's going on. Now, everybody responds differently to treatment, but one of the cool things is that we get to set goals together of ultimately what do you want to do. And we had a gentleman come in not too long ago that ultimately he was really struggling, and ultimately his walking and his balance became a significant issue. Now, why he came in wasn't because of that specifically. It was an understanding that he had an issue, and his goal is that he wanted to be able to walk his daughter down the aisle at her wedding. And right now he couldn't do that. Over just a short period of time with us, the video that I got to see of him walking his daughter down the aisle in just a few short months under care was the most impactful. And ultimately, that's the influence that we get to have. That was his why. That's why he walked in the door, is he knew he couldn't do it alone. And ultimately, walking with somebody hand in hand is that key piece. And unfortunately, we get it quite a bit in the fact that life is a precious thing. So if you've been dealing with neuropathy and you've tried many different avenues, and you've tried the medication, you've tried different avenues that just weren't working, well, ultimately suicide is a topic of conversation that I deal with quite a bit. Unfortunately, in that sense, is that their primary care provider isn't willing to listen to them. And part of our job is to sit and listen with you and to understand that that doesn't have to be the only option. That is a struggle that I get to walk with you in. It's something that really hits home in a lot of ways, that life is precious. And if you're struggling with something, know that there is an answer, and there's someone that does want what's best for you and cares for you. But more importantly, there's solutions that you can take into your own hands and take your life in the direction that you want it to go. So there's a progression when we look at your care. The aspects of what we focus on are addressing the immediate concern. Now, I'm a firm believer that God puts people into our reason for 3 very specific things. That's a reason, a season of life, or a lifetime. And ultimately, when you walk into the door, maybe why you clicked on this video is that you have a specific reason that you're looking to address and ultimately get better from. And so we want to be able to hear that out and guide you through and ultimately address that concern. Now, that could be a variety of different things in the office for you to go through. Now, very simple for me is that I focus on shorter windows. We'll set out realistic goals, mid and long term, but ultimately the next 90 days is the most important. And so when we sit down with you and we actually address what those issues are, be able to run through our diagnostic testing to address your issues, not just you telling me, hey doc, it hurts here, not us trying to convince you of how amazing your body is, but really what's going on with you. And then we get to sit down and we're going to give you the best recommendation possible. And that could be a variety of different services. Now, that's obviously going to be short term. Now we're looking at mid and long term goals. Are you going to be better in a week? No. We're very good at what we do here, but ultimately it took your body a little while to get in the situation that it's in, and it's going to take a little time to be able to reverse that damage. So setting out, again, realistic goals and expectations for not just the next 90 days, but for the next 6 months, the next year. And ultimately, as much as you love coming to see us, the idea is to be able to address the issue and to have you less and less and less, but ultimately your quality of life continuing to improve. Right? That is the biggest focus, is that how do we keep your quality of life moving in the right direction 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years down the road. Now, ultimately, I will take care of you for as long as you will let me. That being said, is we've been here for over a decade. I have patients that have been in this office for that amount of time. The fourth practice member ever to walk in the door is still under care. And the reason is not because he still has the same issues, it's because he wants to continue to improve his quality of life. And that is the key focus. So as we progress through, we get those checkpoints, not just a, oh, here, try this, come back in 6 months and we'll see if it works mentality. It's addressing that on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis to ensure that we're still hitting the necessary goals to reach what we've set out 5, 10 years down the road. So each service that we have in the office is tailored for that, whether it be chiropractic care, whether it be decompression, whether it be red light, shockwave, pelvic floor and core strengthening. Everything that we have is going to be geared to giving your body what it needs. The biggest differentiation in your success is your willingness to do what it is that you need to do. And that is the defining line between those that get results in our office and those that struggle a little bit, is just willingness to do it. That is, and cannot be overstated, that is the most important piece. So when we ask you to do something, if you're doing it partially, then, well, your success is going to be less. But if you're willing to dive in and actually do what you need day in and day out, then the success really does come in the numbers, not just in how you feel. Maybe you've seen a video where I talked about down to an exact percent, what is your sensory loss? Well, that's not just an arbitrary number for us to wonder about. No, that's a benchmark of how we're progressing. And typically within the first 90 days, we see a 5 to 15% reduction in the sensory loss scores that we see in the office. Now, that is huge. One, because, well, your problem's not getting any worse. And two, we're actually moving in the right direction. Because neuropathy is degenerative by nature, that means day in and day out, you're fighting an uphill battle, which means your body's breaking down faster than it's repairing. So if we can actually see an improvement in those scores in just a short amount of time, that is your body actually healing and doing what it's designed to do. And so the success really is dependent on your willingness to put in the time, energy, and effort. So the changes over that course of time may not be profound. You may not be ready to run a marathon, but ultimately you're going to notice little things. And so that could be just walking down the hall. That could be how you get up in the morning. Maybe you're getting up less at night to go to the bathroom. Those little things. Chances are your neighbor or your loved one, your spouse, someone that you live with is going to start noticing changes in you even faster than you will. Because you've been dealing with a condition for so long, it takes a little bit of time for your nervous system to actually retrain itself to realize, oh, hey, we're making changes. But there may be somebody that you live with that is noticing those changes in you before you ever will. And they happen very quickly. Within the first week or two, we've had patients report, I'm walking better, I'm getting up easier. Right? I don't have to use my walker or my cane as much. Those little things are just a huge step over just a short amount of time. And so continuing that success is part of that journey. Again, it's not an overnight, it's not a sprint. It is a marathon journey that does take time, but ultimately your life is worth taking the time, energy, and effort now to make a significant impact a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, for you to continue to do the things that you want to do year after year. When it comes to cost of care, things can be sometimes confusing. Well, our job here is to ultimately make that process as streamlined, as simple as possible. If you're dealing with neuropathy, 90% of the chance you're retired on a fixed income. And that is our patients in the office. So we can meet you where you're at. This is something we deal with on a regular basis. So the insurance aspect is unfortunate in a lot of ways. So we know that Medicare guidelines specifically state, and they're in bullet point form, they do not cover anything that promotes health or prevents disease. So how does that tie into neuropathy? Neuropathy is a chronic condition, and ultimately they cover very little. But my job is to provide you the tools and resources necessary to actually reverse that. Not just give you a medication to cover up the symptom that's there, but to actually address the underlying issues. So depending on your care, that's going to tailor to what you need. Now, every person and case is different when it comes to their health, because if you heard any of the other videos, maybe you've done some research, well, there's over 100 different causes of neuropathy. So depending on how you got in this situation is ultimately going to determine what your course of treatment looks like moving forward. If it's a relatively new issue, well, obviously we're not dealing with a chronic issue of 10, 20, 30 years. But if you've been dealing with this for 10, 20, 30 years, well, then it's going to take a little bit more. And so we get to sit with you and we get to give you the best recommendation and ultimately provide you avenues to be able to not just afford that, but to actually thrive in your health. It's not about having to choose whether or not you're going to receive care or buying groceries. No, we want to make sure that you're able to have a quality of life in all avenues. So not only is our care affordable, but we also can partner with third-party finance companies to make sure that your either monthly payments, whatever they may be, are decreased enough to where you're comfortable and you're not stressing about, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? This is about your quality of life. Again, this is your health and your decision. When it comes to the financial aspect of your health, you really cannot put a price on good quality healthcare. We have in this country, we spend billions and billions of dollars every year. And honestly, if we could just throw money at a problem and fix it, then we should be the healthiest nation on the planet. Unfortunately, when you look at the statistics of our healthcare system, we're nowhere near the top. It's sad because we spend the most money, and yet our health is some of the poorest in the world. We're trying to change that dynamic and actually investing in your health in something that will give you long-term results. It's not just a pill to cover up the problem and hope it gets better. It's knowing and taking your health in your own hands and walking that journey every step of the way. And when it comes to making the right choice, sometimes it can be confusing. And again, this is where we get to sit down and figure out what your goals are. And I have a very pointed component when it comes to anyone telling me, especially health advice, is that, Doc, if it was you, what would you do? If it was your family, if it was your mother, if it was your father. And there is nothing in this office that myself, my family, my staff, that we don't do on a regular basis. When we look at my family, my little girls have red light at home. Right? If they get a scrape or they get something, they immediately run in and they know that their body will heal. That's how it's designed. But they're also going to give it the little things, meaning they're going to grab their red light and they're going to put it on, and they're going to know that their body now has what it needs to heal that much better. And it's simply an understanding that if you ask, hey doc, if it was you, your mom, your dad, and they don't give you the answer that they just said, hey, you should do this, then maybe you should be asking questions on what should I be doing? Instead of just following blindly of what that process looks like, be willing to ask those questions. And if you've ever been in the office or ever had instructions from me, when it comes to your care, if you're not asking questions, I'm going to run under the assumption that you're not doing what you're supposed to, because you should be asking questions. This is your health. This is your health journey. I'm not here to force that, but to help guide. And I'm only as good as the questions being asked. And so willingness to have that conversation in any relationship, it's extremely important to set expectations and have open communication. If that's not the truth when it comes to where you're at, then maybe this is the option for you. Maybe you should be looking for something different and ultimately asking the questions that you really need answers to. And the cool part is that we've been doing this a long time, so questions that you don't even know you should be asking, we're here to address those before they become questions, to help lay out the path that you need to be able to take every single day. So one of the unique components in our office is that, yes, we provide chiropractic care, but also a variety of other services. Decompression is one of the biggest ones that we pair with chiropractic care, and it's an absolutely phenomenal piece. So decompression in and of itself is a phenomenal therapy. Combined with chiropractic care, it does even more. So what we're actually looking to do is help separate the disc itself and rehydrate with nutrients. That's blood, that's water, the nutrients that are necessary for that to stay healthy. Traditionally, we see patients that walk in that have been dealing with maybe numbness, tingling, weakness in the lower or upper extremity, as we can address the low back, but also the neck. And those symptoms can be a variety from pinched nerves to maybe you've been told you have a pinched nerve, maybe you aren't sure. We'll be able to run the diagnostic tests necessary to evaluate, are you a candidate for decompression therapy? Decompression in and of itself is an amazing tool. I love it when it comes to addressing chronic issues that maybe chiropractic care that you've tried in the past didn't quite help, or even in our office. We can then give you what's needed for your body to heal and put it in the right place to recover appropriately. So the aspects of decompression are really, really cool. I love the modality to be able to be paired with other services because it has such a drastic impact in your overall health. So decompression in our office can be in your low back, mid back, or even neck, but also knee decompression. So those dealing with chronic knee issues are specifically tailored to what we can offer. There's not a lot of offices in this area that have a specific knee decompression chair to be able to address chronic issues that you've been dealing with. Knee decompression is a really valuable tool for those that have been dealing with knee issues, that have been trying traditional therapies. Maybe you've tried injections and other components and ultimately not getting the success. Maybe you were told you need therapy soon. That doesn't always have to be the case. A willingness to try knee decompression is worth the effort. Now, traditionally under decompression, that could range anywhere from 3 to 12 to maybe 18 visits. Most people start seeing an improvement after visit 1. They get off the chair immediately and say, I feel a little lighter, I feel a little looser. And that's always a positive impact because that's your body starting the healing process. Now, it does take a little bit of time to actually retrain your nervous system to say, okay, this is where things are supposed to be. So when we set out realistic goals, maybe you've been dealing with a knee issue, maybe you're dealing with a low back issue, and it's been 5, 10, 15 years. Well, one treatment isn't going to fix everything, but ultimately getting that one treatment to start you moving in the right direction, maybe that's going to get you sleeping better that night. And then we tailor that and start building on realistic goals of what is the next week, what is the next month, what does the next year look like of your life. Patients that we typically see in the office for decompression are those that have tried other avenues and are not getting the results. Traditionally from big traumas, meaning you fell off a roof, you got into a car accident, maybe it wasn't even that big. Maybe you just stepped off a ladder funny and you have that immediate sensation of, ow, that hurts. And you know deep down what a pinched nerve feels like. I don't need to go into the technical aspects of that. Deep down you know, and that's not a muscle, that really hurts. And that could have been you as a mom, maybe lifting wastebaskets, laundry, whatever it may be. You're doing repetitive motions over and over again and eventually just wearing down. And then that one day you wake up and you can't get out of bed, you can't sit down to go to the bathroom, you can't walk down the hall. Those traumas, whether they be big or those repetitive things day after day, have led you to where you're at now, and ultimately you can't function. You can't move your arm, you can't focus, you can't walk. Those are all part of showing yourself, hey, these are not just warning signs, this is the car not starting. And ultimately, decompression is a way to help alleviate that stress and to start the body healing back in the right direction from day one. Traditionally, when you search chiropractic online, you're going to get, if you go to Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, you're going to get the big loud popping noises, the big videos that have somebody on the table and a bunch of noises. What's cool with our office is that we don't have to do that. Although that may sound cool, that doesn't designate any true correction. That's just gases being released between the joint. So if you're looking for a gentle, precise assessment of what's going on, chiropractic care that is gentle and specific is ultimately what you're looking for. And so our office, we don't do any big twisting, popping, or cracking. How we're able to do that is simple physics. If we decrease the mass of something, all we have to do is increase the acceleration to get the same amount of force. So yes, we're putting a force into your body to make a specific adjustment to your nervous system, but ultimately it's very gentle. And we were able to track and monitor that from your very first adjustment all the way through. So if you're interested in a very gentle approach when it comes to your health, then definitely look no further. So an amazing piece of technology in the office is shockwave therapy. Now, shockwave therapy has been around for a number of years. And what's really cool is that this is a device specific for chronic issues. This is not a, hey, I just fell off the curb, I want to get treatment, shockwaves for me. No, this is a type of treatment that is something that has been nagging you for a long time. Now, there are so many different possibilities when we look at plantar fasciitis, arthritic changes, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, frozen shoulder, neuropathy. These conditions are something that is a chronic nagging component for you. Now, shockwave specifically is an acoustic sound that is able to penetrate the damaged tissue. I love using the example of a bomb going off and it blowing out the windows on a building across the way. You guys know that visual, and what's really cool is that the windows are the damaged tissue. So shockwave therapy specifically only targets the damaged tissue. It's only going to have an impact on the windows. It's not going to impact the structure of the building. That's still going to be there. That's the healthy tissue. So with shockwave therapy, we actually have a discovery, which means, hey, you got a problem, we can put that device on and instantly know if it's going to benefit your health or not. It really is that simple, because if you don't feel anything, then it's not going to do anything. But if you feel some slight discomfort, and I'm not talking a 10 out of 10 pain, ow, that really hurts, but there's going to be a slight discomfort because we're actually agitating damaged tissue, then we know we're going to see benefits. And typically what we see is an improvement up to 60% within the first 3 visits. Now, that is profound when we look at everything else, because we're going to know very quickly the impact that it gets to have. Now, most treatments range anywhere from 1 to twice a week. Most people, it's going to be a once a week treatment, because what we're actually doing, and to use the analogy, we're blowing out those windows. We're actually impacting the body at a cellular level to break down damaged tissue, so now your body can come in and actually heal and recover appropriately. That process takes time. So again, sitting down with you, listening out, seeing what your problems are, seeing if you're a candidate for shockwave therapy, and then actually doing that discovery to figure out, well, is this going to benefit you, is a key piece. And we'd love to have you in. So if you're dealing with one of those issues, a chronic nagging problem, I encourage you, come try it. It's really phenomenal what it can do for you and your health. Just for shockwave, you've searched online for shockwave therapy, and we do have it in the office. Now, what's cool with that is that we can also partner that with other services in the office, whether it be, again, decompression, whether it be chiropractic